Rohit stopped the car when the radio began whispering his name. Not calling, whispering. Soft, stretched syllables sliding between bursts of static, as if the sound itself was afraid to be heard too clearly. Rohit. The voice crawled out of the speakers, thin and breathy, layered beneath the hiss of interference. It didn't sound human. It sounded remembered. His foot pressed harder on the brake until the car jerked to a halt on the empty highway. The road ahead shimmered under pale moonlight, stretching endlessly forward, straight and obedient. But when Rohit glanced into the rearview mirror, the road behind him looked different, darker, thicker, as if the night itself was pooling there, refusing to let go. His fingers trembled as he reached for the power button. The radio clicked off, then clicked back on. Louder. Rohit, you're still listening. His breath caught in his throat. His hands froze midair. The volume knob began to turn by itself, the plastic ticking softly, deliberately. Rohit ripped the radio out of the dashboard. Sparks flew. The whisper stopped. The silence that followed was worse. It pressed into his ears until he could hear his heartbeat pounding, slow and heavy, like footsteps following him from inside his chest. He hadn't slept properly in weeks. Every time he closed his eyes, the same image returned. Not Ananya, the first bride, standing in scorched darkness, her hollow gaze fixed on him, stitched skin cracking slightly every time she smiled. Her bridal jewelry melted into her flesh, gold fused with bone. He had tried to forget. Tried therapy, alcohol, long drives into nowhere. But forgetting, he was learning, was not the same as being free. The headlights flickered. The highway narrowed without warning. Trees crowding closer, branches arching overhead like ribs. Rohit didn't remember turning off the main road. A rusted sign appeared suddenly in front of the car. Devnagar. The letters were peeling, black paint flaking like burned skin. His fuel gauge hovered just above empty. Against every instinct screaming inside him, Rohit turned into the town. The streets were lit, but weakly. Streetlights flickered like dying candles. Shops stood open, shutters lifted, lights on, yet not a single person moved inside them. The air smelled wrong, sweet and rotten, like flowers left too long at a funeral. Rohit parked near the square and stepped out. The night felt heavier here, pressing down on his shoulders. Each footstep echoed too loudly, as if the town itself was listening. As he walked past a row of glass windows, something caught his attention. Every window reflected him, except one, in the dark glass of a bridal shop. The reflection showed Rohit standing alone, but behind him, faint and blurred, stood a woman draped in a red veil. The veil shifted slightly, as if breathing. Rohit spun around. The street was empty. When he looked back, the reflection was normal again. His heart hammered. You shouldn't be here at night. The voice came from behind him. Rohit nearly screamed. An old man stood near a tea stall, his frame thin, his face carved with deep lines like cracks in dry earth. His eyes were sharp, fearful, constantly moving. I need fuel, Rohit said quickly. The old man shook his head. You need to leave. Rohit swallowed. This town, does it have an old haveli nearby? The old man's face drained of color. Don't say that word, he hissed. The wind surged suddenly, strong and cold, extinguishing half the streetlights in one breath. Darkness swallowed the far end of the road. The old man grabbed Rohit's wrist with surprising strength. She followed you, didn't she? Rohit felt his throat tighten. You know her. The old man nodded slowly. We all do, because she doesn't stay in one place anymore. Rohit's blood turned to ice. She's spreading, the old man whispered, through stories, through memories, through people who see. A distant sound echoed through the town. Wedding music, slow, warped, notes dragging like something injured being pulled across the ground. The old man released Rohit and staggered back. It's begun. Doors slammed shut all around them. Windows went dark. Lights flicked off in a wave, retreating inward as if the town itself was hiding. From the far end of the street, figures emerged. Women, barefoot, dressed as brides. Their veils were torn, hanging in shreds. Their movements were wrong, jerky, delayed, as if their bodies were remembering how to walk. They left no footprints on the asphalt. At their center walked a bride, without a veil. Her face was cracked like dried clay. Burn marks traced her skin in delicate patterns, like lace. Her eyes glowed faintly red. The first bride had left the haveli. Rohit couldn't move. The bride stopped a few feet away. The first bride tilted her head, studying him the way one studies something long lost and finally found. "You tried to forget me," she said. Her voice came from everywhere at once, from the walls, the ground, the hollow spaces between breaths. Rohit forced himself to speak. "You said forgetting would bind you." She smiled. "And you believe me." The brides behind her began humming. The sound crawled under Rohit's skin, vibrating through his bones, twisting his thoughts into sharp fragments. "Memory is not the chain," the first bride continued softly. "Witness is." Her eyes burned brighter. "And you still see." Images flooded Rohit's mind. Ananya screaming, burning halls, locked doors, brides collapsing into ash. He fell to his knees. The ground softened beneath him, turning slick and cold. Hands pushed up from the earth, blackened and burned, gripping his legs, pulling him down. "Close your eyes," the old man screamed from somewhere far away. "Don't look at her." Rohit squeezed his eyes shut. The humming cut off instantly. Silence fell like a blade. When he opened his eyes, the street was gone. He stood inside a half-built wedding hall. Plastic chairs lay scattered. Marigold garlands hung half-dead from metal frames. The stage at the center was stained dark. Fresh blood. A young woman sat on the stage in bridal clothes, shaking violently. Alive. Rohit's stomach dropped. "This is happening now," he whispered. The first bride appeared beside him. "This town offers willingly," she said. "They marry. They celebrate. They forget." The young bride looked up and screamed when she saw Rohit. "Please help me." "You can see me," Rohit said, stunned. She nodded through tears. "She's everywhere." The doors slammed shut. Lights flickered violently. The first bride's shadow stretched unnaturally across the floor, reaching the young woman first. "You don't need rituals anymore," Rohit said desperately. "You don't need sacrifice." The first bride turned. "I need continuation." The walls bled black. Invisible hands dragged the young bride backward. Her screams shattered the air. Rohit ran forward and grabbed her arm. Pain exploded through his body like fire ripping through nerves. The first bride screamed, not in rage, but in surprise. Rohit realized the truth. She could not touch the living directly, only through fear, only when they surrendered. "Don't listen to her." Rohit shouted. "Don't accept it." The young bride sobbed, shaking her head. "I don't want to die." "Then don't," Rohit yelled. "Fight her." The humming returned, louder, distorted, furious. Brides appeared all around them. Rohit felt his strength draining, but he held on. "You cannot break the cycle," the first bride shrieked. Rohit met her gaze. "You already did, the moment you left the haveli." The hall began to crack. Walls split open. The illusion shattered like glass. The young bride vanished. Rohit hit the cold asphalt. Morning light crept into the street. The old man stood over him. "She escaped," the old man said quietly. "For now," Rohit replied. Rohit looked down at his hands. Black marks spread slowly across his skin, like ash beneath flesh. "What's happening to me?" The old man's voice trembled. "You're becoming the bridge." Rohit stared at the rising sun. Because the first bride no longer needed a place. She needed witnesses. And Rohit was still alive.